Hey, what's up, guys? This is Dr. Kotei, the primary care physician you can trust, breaking down the topics you care about in a way that you can understand. One very important health condition that I've been helping a lot of my patients get through as of late is mental illness, especially conditions like depression. So in this video, I'm going to break down the signs and symptoms of depression so that you can recognize them and know whether or not you or someone that you care about needs to go get some help. They've always been common, but it seems that these days mental illness and depression are an epidemic presenting at all-time levels. Some estimates even say that in this country, 1 in 6 people will have some form of depression, whether it be temporary or permanent, at some point in their life. And that might even be an underestimate because some people have signs of depression but don't even go to the doctor for it or even talk to anybody about it because they feel like there's a stigma attached to it, or they're embarrassed, or feel like that it shows a sign of weakness. So I just want to let you know that you definitely shouldn't feel that way, and you're not alone, because a lot of people are going through similar things that you are. And it's very important to go seek help whenever you have any kind of symptoms of depression. And I consider it very important to highlight the signs and symptoms of depression because some of them are obvious, but others you might not necessarily think about as being signs or symptoms of depression, because everybody's unique in terms of how they present. Now, everybody at some point in their life has felt a little bit down or not themselves mentally because of something that's going on in their life or because of their environment. But to officially be diagnosed with depression, your symptoms have to be going on for at least 2 weeks, and you have to have kind of multiple things going on in order to really be considered as actually having true depression. Now, one symptom that you absolutely must have in order to be considered depressed is depressed mood, which basically means that you have to be feeling down or sad most of the time. But oddly enough, a lot of people with depression don't have depressed mood as their initial symptom of depression. They kind of have other symptoms going on, and then later on it turns out that they do have depressed mood as well. Another common symptom of depression is sleep disturbance, and this can come in many different forms. Some people have difficulty falling asleep to begin with, like they have insomnia, and some people, they can fall asleep, but then they wake up early in the morning at like 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that, and then have difficulty falling back asleep. So we call that early morning awakening. And then some people are on the opposite end of the spectrum where basically they kind of oversleep, they sleep too much. Another common symptom of depression is a loss of interest in doing things that people used to like to do for fun. So the way we usually kind of question this is that we ask people, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy most? And when they give me an answer, I ask them, well, as of late, have you been feeling like doing that activity that you used to enjoy so much? And then a lot of them recognize that, oh yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, I don't feel like doing that these days, or I don't have any interest in doing that, even though I used to really enjoy that activity. Another hallmark of depression is an overall feeling of guilt and hopelessness for the future. So a lot of people with depression just kind of feel really down or guilty or blame themselves for something, even if there's not really anything to feel guilty about, or just feel like they're a failure in general. And a lot of people just don't really see that light at the end of the tunnel. Another symptom of depression that I see a lot is fatigue or decreased energy. And a lot of times that seems to be kind of one of those symptoms that people initially present with when they have depression. Basically, a patient would just come in with a chief complaint of, I just feel tired all the time. And then when I question them more and ask them about some of the other symptoms of depression, then it turns out they do have them, and they weren't even necessarily thinking that they were depressed. So that is something that can present early on, and it just kind of is an overall feeling of just really being drained all of the time. And even if you just oversleep, you feel like you're not even rested even when you do wake up. Now, fatigue or tiredness is a symptom of a lot of medical conditions, whether it be, thyroid disease, anemia or a low iron count, or even things like cancer. So, when somebody does present with fatigue, before you can chalk it up to depression, you do have to rule other things out. So it all comes down to making sure you just go to a doctor and get checked out whenever you have any of these symptoms. One symptom of depression that you might not necessarily even think about is a loss of concentration. So people have difficulty completing tasks that they have to complete, and they have difficulty just kind of maintaining their focus. A lot of people with depression present with disturbances in their appetite, whether it be a decreased appetite, which can be accompanied by a loss of quite a few pounds in a short period of time, or the opposite, where they overeat. Another symptom of depression that you might not be as familiar with is a disturbance in your motor function or motor control. Now, by this, I basically mean that some people have some slowing, meaning that they kind of move and talk slower than usual, and it's actually noticeable by other people that have spent time around them before. Or you can have the opposite where you're kind of overly agitated. So you might even have some shaking or tremor as well. Now, another big symptom of depression that we definitely have to make sure we ask about every time we assess somebody for depression is thoughts of suicide or wanting to kill themselves. Because this is quite common among people, especially if you have severe forms of depression and are untreated and don't have proper support around you, then a lot of people can have these thoughts at some point in their life. You might think that we have to tread lightly and maybe not even bring up this subject to people because it could have a chance of maybe implanting the idea in their head. But studies do show that when we ask people about suicide, it's either they are or they aren't. But asking them about it doesn't, kind of introduce the idea to their head and make them all of a sudden want to commit suicide when they weren't actually thinking about it before. And to go along with that, you also want to assess whether or not somebody has thoughts of wanting to hurt someone else or kill someone else, because if that's the case, that means that not only are they a harm or a danger to themselves, but they're also a danger to society as well. And that's definitely a cause to maybe even consider institutionalizing somebody. Now, I'm not going to get too much into treatment in this video, but basically I'm just going to say that there are medications that exist to treat depression if it is diagnosed, and these medications are designed to address chemical imbalances that cause depression. So there's certain neurotransmitters in our brain that for people that are depressed are not working at the high enough levels. So these medications can help correct that. But studies do show that the best form of treatment for depression is a combination of both medication and counseling as well, to kind of deal with stress management and help people develop healthy ways of coping with stress and with grief and things of that nature. Like I mentioned earlier, if you feel like you have some of these symptoms or that you or someone that you care about might be depressed, seek help, reach out. Don't just sit there and go at it alone, because it could be a matter of life and death. And depression does make other medical conditions worse, and they'll never get better unless the underlying mental illness is addressed. If you have any questions for me, please drop them in the line down below. I'm going to leave the link to some resources that you can turn to. Thanks for watching, and peace out.